I knew someone would get it.
There we go. We're recording now.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so this is the legislative meeting. It is April 26th. In attendance is Council President Wolf, Councilperson Benedetti, Councilperson McNamara, Councilperson Bruger, that's me, I'm chair of the committee, Mayor Hughes, and Eric Fisher. So first on our agenda was the symbols ordinance. So if you give me one moment here. That's the noise ordinance. I'll start with a concern you had, Tony, where you were worried that the flag doesn't actually mirror the flag that we have flying. And I think you finally got out that the reason you believe that is because the flag that is flying, it has a yellow fringe around the outside. Is that the difference you've been noting?
Yes.
Okay, that would not typically consider to be part of the design of a flag. That is just an embellishment added to a flag, like when you see a political rally and they have all the American flags with the gold trim hanging on it. That's not part of the design of the flag. That's just an embellishment.
Whatever.
Well, I mean, that we don't have different American flags just because someone wants to put
Well,
some
no,
gold trim around
you
it.
can get a flag with a gold fringe all around it. A US flag, you know, with gold fringe.
Yeah, they're quite common.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
Yeah, that's not because someone decided to change the flag. It's an embellishment to the displaying of the flag, not an actual change to the design of a flag. And are you guys seeing the ordinance up there? Am I sharing the correct screen?
Yeah,
it's
just to make
awesome.
sure, this is the most recent that we got back from legal.
Yes, this is them redoing the change, making sure the language was correct. So any substantive change to logos or symbols of the village, including but not limited to the flag or symbols on police, shouldn't say on police symbols, it should say on police vehicles. On police or maintenance vehicles is just what it should say. And it won't let me change that because this is the thing that was sent to me, not the thing I was typing. Must be sponsored by either the mayor or a member of council. The proposed change shall then be subject to a 2-week period of public review and comment prior to council consideration of a resolution adopting the changes. Final approval of the resolution shall be by majority vote of the council. This section does not apply to job position or titles within the village. So in other words, when we have to put a new mayor's name on, we just put a new mayor's name on.
Yeah, no, that reads okay to me with that one typo in there where symbols is in there an extra time. And
Yep.
so if I recall, this one is tabled,
Yes.
right? So we can move to take it off the table, have the final reading, note the typo, and move for passage as amended. And then I'm okay with moving forward with this one as it is. Everybody else is welcome to speak their opinion.
It seems a lot more palatable to me.
Well, we'll have to wait till Diane's able to chime in when we go to vote on this. I think
Yeah.
I made myself perfectly clear that I'm not in favor of this. I think it creates work that's unnecessary. But like I said, we'll hear what Diane has to say about it when it comes time to vote.
Well, and I'll go back to a little bit of my rationale for doing this. Of course, we've had, changes over the time. And recently there was a change that was going to be made. And the reason was, I was told at least once, that everyone in the office hated the police cruisers with their blue and gold or blue and yellow, and that the only reason they were blue and yellow was because the former chief who made those changes was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And so they chose something that was just personal to them. And now I didn't find those changes to be objectionable at all. And then, of course, last winter, there was a proposed change that would have put a symbol on the side of the vehicle that I honestly and legitimately felt would have caused problems in the village, would have caused an awful lot of upheaval and hoo-ha. And I don't believe that was done in any way intentionally. I believe the people thought they're doing it, thought, no, this is a great symbol, not realizing that other people in the community might be like, no, we find that offensive. So
And the symbol had been co-opted by some.
well,
not-
as I say, it wasn't the fault of the people who wanted to do it. To them, no, this is just
Yeah.
what it is. But I really feel we would have had a lot of blowback from that from various people in the village saying, what are you doing? And I just feel that this, gives us a 2-week period where we put it up on the website, put it up on various digital things saying, hey, this is the new one. And of course, we're going to get lots of goofy, well, I don't like the font. Does the color have to be that? And, you can kind of ignore those.
Then why do it? Then why do it?
Well, because you might come up with, I find that, and so does 15 other residents, to be markedly offensive and
Well-
disrespectful to me and my community.
Right,
I
but there's
get that.
2,000 residents. There's 2,000 residents. You're asking for, trust me, as you guys have seen, I have scaled back so much on Facebook because it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare for me to deal with Facebook. I mean, literally someone commented, never mind, I'm not even gonna go there. You are creating more work for myself because, the thing that I had brought up, Tony, you missed this the other day, but the thing that I had brought up and Eric was part of this when we were talking about it is, we've had people ask what people want to see council do. And some people have responded that they want to see sidewalks. They want to see more walking paths. They want to see, and when you don't do this, these people have said, this is what I want to see. So these 5-10 people have said, I hate that font, and you go do that font anyways. Now you have all of these people going, well, what was the point? I hated it and you still did it anyways. So if you're not going to please these people, why are you asking? Because again, we have 2,000 residents, but that's not what a lot of these people hear. A lot of these people hear, you're going to do what I want you to do. And all I'm saying is, I would have agreed with everything you're saying a long time ago until I've got to sit in this chair and realize that every time you ask for an opinion, I can't tell you how many people have sent me food truck ideas. And when you don't go get that food truck or you don't have that food truck, I mean, I literally have had people angry because I haven't brought, and the reason is not because I don't want to, it's because it's not feasible. So just be careful what you're asking for. I think that's really my point.
And could I say that we were elected to make these trivial, I wouldn't, maybe not true, these mundane decisions, and to go to the community to do this or to ask to change these things is asking it again. It's more work than it is worth. And we didn't have a problem in the way it's been done before and the way it was done this time when the things were changed or the emblems were changed. It didn't end up being what you thought it was going to end up being, because it was considered. It was just part of the process, of putting out there what the ideas were. And it wasn't offensive to any, it didn't end up being the way you thought it was going to be. And we didn't go through this process of a 2-week, period of public comment or whatever. And, and that's the other part of this is that's such an arbitrary thing, the way that's described is like, what does that even mean?
That means for 2
review
weeks,
and
the public
comment.
would have an opportunity to view it and make a comment on it.
I
It can't be any
understand that.
simpler than that. I don't understand why you don't understand that. It's a 2-week period where people can see it and leave a comment. That's all it is.
Aware. I mean, so as long as we put it in one we put it in the newsletter, does that mean that we've made it public? That to me, that's why I don't understand.
So Tony, right? So legislation is drafted and passed by a legislative body, right? And then it is acted upon by an administration. So what we are saying here is that it will be up to the village administration to determine what that 2-year period of public review looks like, right? And, that's just how that is, because I certainly don't want to tell anybody what that should be, because for a lot of reasons, right? One, the standard means by which that people use for these things today could be very different in just 5 years, right? Think 10 years ago, to suggest that public review could be done on Facebook would have been mind-blowing, right? That didn't exist 10, 15 years ago, right? So, we don't want to prescribe how it is to be done. We just want to say that the public needs to be made aware. They have 2 weeks to comment, and then we can move forward. Now, beyond that, I don't think that we're adding, it is my opinion that I don't think we're adding anything to this discussion at this point, right? We're saying we don't like it, we do like it. So at this point, I'd suggest we move on, we raise it for a vote, and either it passes or it doesn't.
Right, because again, you guys are also talking about it needs to pass by a majority vote, a resolution, which you're, whether or not you're waiving readings and passing it as an emergency and all that kind of stuff. I mean, once again, you're talking about a 3-month ordeal to change something that just, again, everybody knows I'm in agreement with Tony on this one. It just adds more work to everything. And again, if you put it on Facebook, then you didn't get it to the newsletter people. If you put it in the newsletter, then,
And once
If
you
you
and
just
Brian are
want, I
gone,
would, I guess, be okay to remove public consideration from it and just not allow the public to weigh in on that. I'm fine with saying they don't have a say in it and their opinion, it doesn't matter. We can do that. I could take that section out if that's what you and Tony are thinking.
yeah, I mean, I think residents that see this may not have, all I can tell you is I sent those pictures to multiple people, and I will tell you the majority of the people actually did not, of the people that I sent it to, and I'm not going to name names on here, but I will promise you there were actually some people I sent it to that you would be surprised that they didn't think anything of the way that you thought. And it doesn't matter, because again, as soon as I knew that there was any sort of backlash, that's not going to be something that I want to, even consider moving forward with. So I'm in agreement with Tony. You guys are voted in to do this. If you give residents, they're just going to want to know why you didn't respect their opinions and didn't change it. If you've got 10 people that say that they want to change it, I think that's what you guys are voted in to do, is to make these adjustments and change. I still think that you're making this 10 times more work for council and for myself and for admin and all of that. But that's what a vote is for. But I also would agree. I think that you're opening up your own can of worms, because if you advertise it in the newsletter, you're going to have people mad. If you do it on Facebook, you're going to definitely have people mad. It doesn't matter what you do. You're, a public
Yes.
review, if they miss one.
People get upset and complain about the free lunch didn't come with enough tartar sauce. That's not really an issue.
Right.
As for a ton more work, I don't see actually where there's much more work here at all, other than we want to do this. Okay. People can look at it and then we'll review it and then pass it and go forward. Except for, I will say, and maybe this is the right language or not, final approval of the resolution. I didn't expect this to be an ordinance or anything. This is just a resolution. Does this need the 3 votes?
Yes, it needs,
Okay.
resolution is legislation, and it needs 3 readings, and it needs,
I had a plan for it to be just a majority
Motion.
vote approval of a thing, not an actual.
I have a feeling it was,
That we can do, right?
yeah, so I think that that's something that actually Jesse added to make it a resolution. I don't think that
Yeah.
was your language. That was part of council's update to this. And that's because resolutions are more strongly documented than just a motion on the floor, right?
Yeah.
So then it gets enumerated in legislation and captured, and we have that forever.
Okay, so perhaps we can see if we can get that changed out, because I did not see this as a first reading, second reading, third reading when I first envisioned it. And we can take out the review period. I just think council should have a say in, our forward-facing symbols of the village that people see and know us by. I don't want cars dictated by who the chief of police roots for on Sundays.
So,
It was actually a contest throughout the police department. You
Ah,
said it a little
okay.
wrong in there, but, so, and
I
again,
apologize. I did not mean to besmirch the former chief, whom I never named anyway, because I didn't know their name.
right, and I'm just gonna remind everybody that the typical person that designs and does different things like that does not always go through a council and all of those types of things, so. It is
Mhm.
what it is. You guys get to vote on it. I think that we have a lot to talk about in the next 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
hopefully
Yep.
Eric will get to the one part, so.
it sounds like this stays tabled then because there's at least two major changes that need to be discussed.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, David, you want to real quick talk up let me stop sharing here. Talk up your proposed resolution there, because I know you put that out a while ago and haven't got to speak on it.
Yeah, thank you. So I wrote and introduced to legislation a resolution for the prioritization of native plants for use in village projects. Now, for those who are not as obsessive as I am about this sort of thing, there is a large issue environmentally with plantings through largely municipal projects. I mean, we can't control someone's garden, obviously. But there is issues with municipal projects choosing plants that look really cool, or, they've got these bright red leaves, big, purple, blue, whatever flowers. However, they came from another part of the planet and are not a piece of the environment here. And thereby there are nothing eats the seeds, or nothing, it doesn't compete with anything properly. And the issues with that are they become invasive, they become unchecked, there's no controls on them, and they outcompete native plants. For example, all of those beautiful trees, those white flowering trees you see on the sides of roads, growing completely wild, those used to be ornamental pear trees, which escaped and are now everywhere. Those gigantic bushes on the side of every road and in every woods, with the sweet smelling flowers and the red berries, those are honeysuckle. And there's a good dozen or two kinds of honeysuckle from all over the world that shouldn't be here, that have escaped and have destroyed countless acres of American woodlands. So and people don't use those plants anymore because the damage they've seen has been learned. But what I'm attempting to do is introduce this here so that we are an example, we are a positive example of the use of native plants that belong in our ecosystem, that have true benefits to wildlife, that are just overall better for the environment. And I believe in in what I said, it says that the village administration shall prioritize this in future construction projects. And we would encourage the other construction projects in the village to adhere to the same. So the biggest things would be the new community building, and I would assume the new school, if that's possible. Again, I know that was all in motion before I was even here.
Mhm.
But for the future, that's the gist
I
of it.
imagine one of the advantages of planting native species is they take less specialized care as they're designed to live
Absolutely.
in this environment.
they care for themselves once they're established.
Tony,
Tony's
do you
got a
have
question.
Well, I would say that Lisa has put together a list of trees that are like approved for the, village approved trees. I believe it's at the end of our code. If you, go to the village code, it will have like a tree list of approved trees or something in Minerva Park. So,
Wasn't
I
that
think
just,
from a tree standpoint, that's already been taken care of.
Yes, that's true, Tony. We do have an approved list of trees. I'm not sure, this is probably one of the things that we did not wrap up, but I think council needs to re-adopt. I don't think we re-adopted a new list, did we? Because it got rid of the silver maples and the ashes. I think that's what we talked about at P and Z.
If I remember right, there were a few other species that are no longer recognized as beneficial due to their invasive potentials, but I haven't seen that list personally since the last time we were discussing it.
I think we have to, Tony's right, though. There has been some work done on it. We just need to bring it back up for adoption. So that's something, I think that's a good kind of circle back around for P and Z, and we'll have to add that to the next meeting and get that wrapped up and back up to you. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, so long story short, the environment is, the native environment is more than trees, although that's a wonderful list from what I remembered. It just, needs updated. And as more and more awareness of the issues from invasive species and non-native species are recognized, I think the Minerva Park has the potential to serve as a example of the way to do this from a municipal planning standpoint. If you put the native plants in, and there are so many beautiful native plants, if you put the native plants in first, you're not going to have any problems with them down the road, within reason. Yes, native plants expand, but that's what they're supposed to do.
And I believe, and I looked to see if I had a copy of it. I didn't have a copy of the original language you sent. But you said prioritize, but in no way did it say only or exclusively. It led for, well, if we really, if this is something, there can be reasons given, but we really want to keep it to native.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I agree that's something we could, present, if it's passed, present to Westerville, because they're going to finish those schools and want to do landscaping, and we can say, okay, but we can't stop them from doing that, because this ordinance doesn't even stop us from doing it. But you can say, in the spirit of our village, could you please, when you consider landscaping, consider native plants as part of your landscaping?
And I'll just chime in on that Westerville Schools has been very cooperative. If we ask them to put in, if you have a list, David, of some specific trees you'd like, or bushes, or whatever you'd like to do, it's a good time to get that in now on the middle school. And even we can suggest it for the, elementary school, and I'm sure they would be happy to do that. The ordering of those landscaping elements is not commenced yet.
Excellent. That is something that I will, provided we are able to pass this legislation, I will circle back with the known individuals with Minerva Flora and planning and zoning, try to get a good comprehensive.
Well, I think what Eric is suggesting is pass this or not, it's still a good idea, and we can pass that suggestion along.
Oh, well, that's even better then.
Yeah.
Right, Eric, did I misread what you were trying to say?
No, sir, that is absolutely correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, that's an
Looks
even better
like,
idea then.
David, your next stop might be a planning and zoning to talk to them and hammer things out, and then we can get you on the next legislative. And if you can write up, and I tell you, all I did was steal a thing that had passed and then replaced all the whereas with my stuff. And I just, copied it, took out the old stuff, put in my stuff is the easy way to do it. And then bring that to next legislative. We can talk about this again, but we're down to 5 minutes, Tiffany. I'm sorry with our heart out today, but I do want to give you at least 5 minutes here at the end.
it's actually Eric. Eric had brought this back up a couple days ago to the chief. We actually had a situation over the weekend. So honestly, I don't remember where we are. Maybe somebody on here remembers where we are. I know Eric was kind of talking over with the chief, but it's the noise ordinance, and I'm not sure where we ended up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mark. So I just wanted to kind of circle back to the legislative committee because we did have some meetings, we did have some discussion, we did present a number of thoughts on noise ordinance, and we're getting back to warm season again. And the police, essentially, I had a nice discussion with Chief today because we were just trying to figure out if we owed you something at this stage, or if we can prepare something for your consideration if you're kind of ready for that. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to.
Gotcha. And this is, I believe, the last thing I remember.
Okay. Okay.
And this was in an email that might have originated with you.
Okay, that's very possible. I just think things have happened and obviously time has gone by and
Mhm.
wanted to make sure we were back on this before party started up again, which sounds like they already did. If you would do me a favor, sir, if you could resend this to me, if you've got this, and then we can prep
I
something.
sure will.
We can prep something, obviously, get in front of council for a first reading. I just want to see where we're at. Do we need another legislative committee? Are we comfortable with this language?
What does it say for noise hours-ish? I think that's where I'm at.
So, it was, okay, nighttime, sometimes abbreviated night means period of time from 10 PM until 7 AM during a weekend or any day before a legal holiday, and 9 to 7 during a weekday that is not a day before a legal holiday, is one of the things they said, Westerville included. And then we have, but a lot of, all the red and blue in here, most of the blue is, keep it as is, carve this one out, just the church bells. And then the red is the questions we had.
Okay, so, and just so you guys can kind of ponder one of the little discussions, maybe I shouldn't say anything on here. All I will say is this issue that happened would not have eliminated what happened last night. So, I mean, I think it boils back down to realistic or unrealistic expectations living in a neighborhood. But that's what I was curious about. I mean, I think at some point you just don't like what your neighbors are doing and it is what it is. So I don't think you can prevent everything, but I like the hour thing. I think it gives the police officer something to look at, but I also think trying to do like the distance thing and all of that, I know we kind of went in circles about that. I think that's putting the officers like, okay, let me go stand 50 feet apart because it scroll back up a tiny bit. And I know we've got to go.
Yeah. So if I may, Mayor, so
Yeah.
Mark, if you could just forward that to me and the mayor, and then let me get with Chief. Let's put something together. We can forward them back to everyone else for email purposes. And then perhaps we'll be ready for a first reading. If not, we'll come back to legislation, later. So
Not a problem.
thank you, sir.
Do we need to get off this meeting and start up another one?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. And Eric, the only
Yeah.
thing I would say is if we could look at it like Wednesday or Friday with Chief, you're going to have graduation parties in 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You're going to have a lot of this stuff rolling around here pretty quick. So just to have the officer something to look at. If we don't, we don't. But I know we know it's coming. All right, guys, I'm ending you to start over.
All right, we're in adjournment.
All right.